ॐ नीलाम्बुजश्यामलकोमलङ्गं सीतासमारोपितवामभागं पाणौ महासायकचारुचापं नमामि रामं रघुवंशनाथं. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, who is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side and is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. These subtler meanings have been given to you before, and we continue with Balakanda in Sri Ramcharitmanas of Goswami Tulsi Das. And we are moving towards the verse number 101. Presently, the topic is Shiva Parvati Vivaha. Shiva and Parvati have been married, and all the descriptions have been given. Remember the subtler meaning behind it. Jiva is Shiva. Soul within you is Shiva potential. And that Jiva, wedded to Viveka Buddhi, discovers its identity as Shiva. Viveka Buddhi is represented by Parvati Devi. Viveka Buddhi is the intuitive intellect. Sati was the normal intellect, but in a highly purified manner. Now that Sati turned into Parvati, that's intuitive intellect. Now the soul potential marries the intuitive intellect, and now Shiva aspect shines. Now this stage in the story, Shiva and Parvati, they are departing now from Himalayas, going to Kailash. But at this stage of separating themselves from father-in-law, mother-in-law, Shiva's father-in-law is Himachal. Mother-in-law is Mana. And that's the stage of separation. Himachal, the father-in-law, gave immense things of spiritual values dedicated to Shiva. All that is allegorical, and I have explained that to you before. But we continue the same story. Daij diyo bahubhati punikar, jori khimabhudhar kahyo, ka deu puran kam sankar, charan pangach gahi rahyo. Himachal gave immense things as dowry to Lord Shiva, saying, O Lord, you are Purnakam, all your desires are fulfilled. What can I offer to you? And thus saying, he clasped the lotus feet of Shiva. Shiva kripa sagar sasura kar santosha sababhai sabhati hi kiyo puni gahe pada patho jamayana prema paripuran hiyo. Then Lord Shiva showered his blessings and grace on his father-in-law and his mother-in-law Mana. This is followed by Parvati's mother falling at the feet of Lord Lord Shiva. Nath Uma Mama Pranasam Griha Kinkari Karehu Chamehu Sakala Aparadha Ab Hoi Prasanna Barudehu. O Lord, Mana, the mother of Parvati, is offering this prayer to Shiva. O Lord, this Uma, another name for Parvati is Uma. You must realize Uma is a variation of Om. Parvati is beloved of my very life. I love her, I love my life forces. Consider her as your maid servant and continue to forgive her for her faults. This is the boon I ask of you. Storyline has its own beauty. Always understand the mystical implication. In the ideal state of spiritual advancement, Viveka Buddhi, the discriminative intellect, goes on removing obstacles from your path, acts like your maid servant in a very profound way, enabling the soul to discover its spiritual identity. I am Brahman. Griha Kinkari, the village word. Maid servant's job is to remove kankar from the path. Go on removing every particle of dust. Everything is in disorder to keep the master happy. That's the allegorical satire on the role of Viveka Buddhi. If you have purified intellect, it goes on removing obstacles even before you fall for something negative. Viveka Buddhi will give you strength enough not to fall for it. And also can create a gracious change in the atmosphere. Bahubidhi Sambhu Sasu Samujhayi Gavani Bhavan Charan Sirunayi Janani Uma Boli Tabalini Lai Uchanga Sundara Sikhadini. Lord Shiva said many delightful words to calm her mental agitation. Mental agitation because she was being separated from her daughter Parvati. And she retired to her inner palace and called Parvati to herself, holding Parvati in her arms. She gave these teachings. Karehu sada sankara pada puja, Nari Dharma pati devana duja, Vachan kahat bhare lochan bari, Bahuri lai uralin kumari. O Parvati, always worship the feet of your husband Shiva. This is the dharma of women. Husband is her Lord, her God. There is no other God. People take it literally. This is not a literal message. The message in that level of society, the message is both ways. Husband is God for the wife, and wife is the goddess for the husband. By God and goddess, I'm not creating any difference. It's one and the same. Loving God in each other, that's the practical message for society. But there has been a kind of distortion. When people interpret religion in a little one-sided way, but that's not the purpose of religion. No religion ever operates for creating dissension, disbalance, disharmony, promoting negativity. That's not religion. No religion does it. But misinterpretation of religion does many wonderful things, terrible things. So the idea, I will not lead you too much that way, but even saints and sages have sung. Meera, for example, said that if your husband is not devoted to God, renounce him, considering him like 1,000 enemies. Sasbahusam. Again, that don't take it literally. The idea between husband and wife is to promote, to lead to spiritual advancement, help each other to evolve. And that's the divine purpose behind all relations, father and son, brother and sister, and so forth, all relations. And ultimately in all human interactions, the goal is to help each other. Be good, do good. Discover your divinity and allow others to discover their divinity. And that's Nari Dharma. Again, Nari term comes from Sanskrit word is Stri. Stri relates to triad. Consciousness that is trapped by triad, seer, seen and sight. That's the relative consciousness that everyone lives with. And everyone, therefore, comes under the title Stri, triad-based consciousness. And all this Stri aspect has to marry, be wedded to Purusha. That relates to God. God is only one. All souls have to be wedded to God. Christianity has a similar idea. When all churches are considered brides, while Lord Jesus, who never wanted to marry, is the bridegroom. I'm joking. So Pativrata Dharma implies allow your life to flow on to God by practicing integral yoga. All aspected balance. Action turned into karma yoga. Emotion, bhakti yoga. Willing aspect, dhyana yoga. And reasoning aspect within you, intellect and ego, into Dhyana yoga. All these blended becomes integral yoga. Spiritual sadhana, if it is done in a healthy manner, then we allow all these aspects of your personality to flourish in a profound way. You do not starve yourself that I will not do any action, I'll just meditate from day and night. I will not study anything other than Bhakti or other than Vedanta. I'm just giving broad outlines. Advaita Vedanta. People develop that type of. In other words, it is easy to be one-sided. If you are lopsided, one-sided, you may feel that you are advancing a lot, but your real progress waits until you are integrated. Here the statement is, why did Kat vidhi sriji nari jagamahi paradhin sapnehu sukanahi bhai ati prema bikal mahatari dhiraju kinha kusamaya vichari. Parvati's mother expresses her grief with this statement. Why did Creator create womankind? They are always dependent on others. This point I have already explained. Womankind is not really women, but consciousness trapped by the illusion of triad. Seer, seen and sight, just like your dream. In dream, the dream subject is not you. The dream world is not you. The dream experiences are not real. But you are trapped by the three. Then that consciousness is called Stri. Trapped consciousness. Why did Vidhata, Creator, promoted that? As long as you are trapped by the three, you are paradhin. Paradhin means you are dependent on others. Swadhin means dependent on yourself. You are independent, independence. As long as you are not enlightened, you are paradhin, dependent on others. And as long as there is dependence, sapnehu sukha nahi. Real joy you don't experience, even in your dream. Thus saying, mother expressed her grief, shedding tears, but at the same time knowing that it's not the proper occasion for expressing grief. She held on with patience. Puni puni milati parati gahi charana, parama prema kachu jai na barana, sab narin mili bheti bhavani, jai janani ur puni lapatani. Again and again, Parvati, rather Mana, mother, holds Parvati in her arms and realizing that she is the goddess, she also falls at her feet. Intense was that their love. Parvati Devi said goodbye to all women and again met with her father and rather met with her mother, who held her in warm embrace. Chale sang himavanta tab pahunchavana ati hetu vividha bhati paritosha kari vidakinha vrishiketu. And this is the description of when people get married and this big party has come. There are a lot of cultured mannerism. so many things are done in a special way. Himachal went with Shiva as Shiva moved on towards Kailash to a certain distance. But as he was doing that, Shiva comforted him and enabled him to develop santosh. Santosh means contentment. You must know that Shiva's name is Ashutosh, fulfiller of all desires. And that's the ultimate goal for every soul, to attain absolute contentment, nirankush tripti. All contentment in the world of relativity is restricted. It is not perfect. There is a thorn, there is a kind of a piercing needle behind every contentment, called ankush. In the world of in the relative reality, you become content, something good has happened. But then how long? That's the big kantak. And what will happen after that good fortune has subsided, has waned? What will happen? But ultimate goal is nirankusha tripti, contentment that has absolutely no restriction, unbounded, not subject to any waxing and waning. So that type of contentment Shiva promoted in Himachal. जब ही शंभु कैलाश ही आए, सुर सब निज निज लोग सिधाए, जगत मातु पितु शंभु भवानी, कहीं सिंगारु न कहूँ बखानी. When Shiva reached Kailasha mountain, all the gods that had come to join Shiva in this marriage celebration, they went to their different abodes. And Shiva and Parvati enjoyed a wonderful time, what you call honeymoon. But that honeymoon of Shiva and Parvati cannot be described. Because for worldly honeymoon, the term is used, you fall in love. The more you fall, the more you are enjoying your honeymoon. The divine communion with God, where desire of the world doesn't exist. Shiva has already destroyed Kama, the spirit of love, worldly love. And in that state, that profound love that is experienced is Ishwar Prem, divine love, absolute love. In that love, lover and beloved, they become both one, blended. And it is that type of shringar that is being described by Tulsi Das, that type of love. At this stage, let me point out to you, in Bhakti literature, a soul moves towards God, led by enjoying different rasa, different type of taste, loving taste. Shanta, secret love. There is no expression, no description, but you develop love of God deep down. That's called Shantaras. Dasya, you develop this sense of I am a servant, God is the master. Vatsalya, I am the mother, God is the baby. You can reverse it. I am the baby, God is the father, mother. Sakhya, I and God are friends, mutual. There is nothing to hold secret from each other. And Madhurya, which I have just explained through Shiva and Parvati, absolute sweetness. It is referring to that type of rasa, that the saintly saying, Lali mere lal ki jit dekhaun tit lal. The devotee goes out and sees everywhere, wherever the vision turns, there is nothing but the beloved. Lali mere lal ki jit dekhaun tit lal. Lali dekhan main chali, main bhi ho gayi lal. I went out to look for my beloved, but I myself became the beloved. So it is that type of enjoyment that Shiva and Parvati indulged in. Karahi vividha vidhi bhog vilasa, ganan sametak basahi kailasa, har girija vihara nitya bhanayayu, ehi vidhi vipul kal chali gayayu. It is that type of enjoyment Shiva and Parvati indulged in, along with their attendants. And this type of enjoyment continued with renewed vitality day by day. And a long time passed. Tab janmeu satvadan kumara, taraku asaru samar jahi mara, agam nigam prasiddha purana, shanmukh janmu sakal jag jana. Now the very purpose of their marriage was that they should bring forth, they should become the parent of Subrahmanya, Kartikeya, these are same names. Shiva Purana describes the amazing way this Subrahmanya was born. He born out of the effulgence of Lord Shiva and Parvati. Both as they commune with each other, effulgence arises. First goes into Sharbana. Shar relates to straws that are very sharp. Ban is forest. The sharp grass is always symbolic of Sukshma Buddhi, intellect that is sharp. So in that type of environment he was born. And then he was nourished by six Kartikas. Kartikas are Devis. And just for your, just extending your understanding, their names are Prabha, Abha, Tej, Bhavya, Shobha, Sukriti. Prabha, morning light, Prabhat. Abha, expanding light. Tej, fiery light. Bhavya, splendid light. Shobha, beauteous illumination. Sukriti, that allows all your karmas, all your actions to become shining. All these are radiations of Viveka Buddhi. All these are different aspects of Parvati Devi. And they become the nourisher of Subrahmanya. Subrahmanya is that wisdom which destroys Tarakasur. Tarakasur is ignorance. Ignorance that doesn't allow the soul to cross over the world process. Crossing over is santaran. And if it doesn't allow, then the term has been used, Taraka. That Tarakasur is destroyed, then the soul can cross over the world process. So, the whole story of Kartikeya is summed up in 2 lines. But I will give you some more details on Kartikeya. Kartikeya has 6 faces, 6 heads. 6 represent always 6 attributes of Bhagavan. God is called Bhagavan. Bhagas relate to divine attributes. Dhyana, wisdom. Vairagya, dispassion. Bala, strength, spiritual strength. Kirti, fame. Shri, prosperity, divine prosperity. Aishwarya, lordliness. These 6 great attributes, they are attributes of God. So simply implies that Kartikeya was embodiment of God in his perfection. And there are different presentations of Kartikeya. Kartikeya holds a weapon in his hand. That weapon is called Valli. That represents Ichha Shakti, the power of will. Rather, let me change my interpretation. He holds a veil. That's the special name for that instrument. Veil is Jnana Shakti, the power of wisdom. He has 2 wives, Valli and Devasena. Valli represents willpower, Ichha Shakti. Devasena represents spiritual virtues that enable you to perform your action in a dynamic manner. It's also described as Kriya Shakti. In other words, in Subrahmanya, you find all divine powers in a summarized form. He rides on peacock. Sanskrit word is Mayur. And it is, mystically it implies it is the essence of all the 4 Vedas. And all divine qualities, they represent those feathers that are shining with different colors. He is also known as Murugan. Murug term relates to 6 attributes: beauty, valor, fragrance, sweetness, effulgence and joy. He is called Bala Subrahmanya for children. Shanmukha, 6 faces for artists. Swaminatha for devotees. Valli Devasenapati for grihasthas. Andavan Swami for saints. I've just given you some of these ideas, and that will lead you to big Puranic study. Another son story I have already given to you, Ganesha. Shiva Parvati become the parents of Ganesha and Subrahmanya. Ganesha is the beginning movement of sadhana. If you utter the name Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah, that's how you begin any auspicious project, implying that Ganesha elements turn your project into something divine. An ultimate goal is reached by Subrahmanya. They are the alpha and omega of the spiritual progress, Ganesha and Subrahmanya. After Tarakasura was destroyed, the Ramayana doesn't mention anymore, Lord Shiva destroys the sons of Tarakasura. 3 sons. They were rulers over 3 cities, demoniac cities. 3 cities relate to 3 planes, 3 lokas, physical, subtle, causal. Shiva destroys them. And that simply implies attainment of absolute liberation. Jagujana sanmukh janma karma praptap purusha ratumaha tehi hetu mai vrishiketu sutakar charit sanche pahi kaha. 6-faced Kartikeya. His birth, his glorious actions, his glory, his heroism, all this the world knows very well. Therefore, Tulsi Das says, I have given this story in a brief manner. Those who would recite this topic of the marriage of Shiva and Parvati, those who sing this or relate this to others, they will always be blessed with success, auspiciousness, and all the choicest blessings of God will fall on them. And therefore, especially in special projects, or when you are celebrating marriage of your loved ones, recite these verses that relate to Shiva and Parvati marriage, to remove anything that is negative and to bestow on you all that is positive. Charita Sindhu Girija Raman Vedana Pavahi Paru Varanaya Tulsi Dasu Kimi Atibati Mandagamaru. This story of Lord Shiva and Parvati is vast like the ocean, unfathomable. How can this little-minded villager, Tulsi Das, how can he adequately describe this? It's just a humble utterance that, and again the reality behind it. that all words are ultimately limited. All your imaginations to bring the glory of Brahman, no matter how great they are, all Vedic statements ultimately fall short. Sambhu charita suni sarasa suhava, Bharadvaja muni ati sukha pava. Now you are turning to this context where Yajnavalkya had started telling the story of Rama to Bharadvaj. And in the beginning, Shiva Parvati story was related by Yajnavalkya to Bharadvaj as the foundation of Rama's story. Listening to this wondrous story, full of sweetness and divine beauty, Bharadvaj was immensely delighted. And his aspiration to listen to more, if Shiva's story has been that much, how wonderful will be Rama's story. His eyes were filled with joyous tears, and he was experiencing horripilation. Prema vivasa mukha avana bani, dasha dekhi har se muni jnani. And he was so overwhelmed with joy and divine love that words couldn't come out of his mouth. Yajnavalkya was so pleased to see how his student, listener, was so inundated with joy. And he said, O great sage, O great Muni, the Lord of Munis, Munish, your birth has been most blessed. Shiva, the Lord of Uma or Gauri, is dearer to you than your very life, or as dear to you as your very life. That in itself is the glorious development in your life. Shiva pada kamal jinahi rati nahi, Ramahi te sapane huna sohahi. One who does not have devotion to the lotus feet of Shiva, such a person is not accepted by Rama, even in dream. Binu chala vishwanatha padanehu, Rama bhagat kar lachana ehu. To develop pure love for Shiva, that is the characteristic of Rama's devotee. Shiva and Rama should not confuse you. They are two aspects of the same spiritual movement. And all the inspiration you get through Shiva, if you are not assimilating it, then the Rama story will not be digestible. You will not assimilate or be benefited by Rama. In spite of all this saying, Hindu society has a kind of lot of conflict with two types of devotion, Shiva Bhakti and Vishnu Bhakti. And they kind of hate each other. But as long as this type of hatred exists, the religion you are practicing is not real religion. Because both aspects have their special message and a special significance in your spiritual movement. प्रथम ही मैं कही शिव चरित, बूझा मरम तुम्हार, सुनि सेवक तुम राम के, रहित सक समस्त विकार. Now I have recognized your ability by telling the story of Shiva. And indeed, you are best devotee of Rama, devoid of all vikaras, impurities. मैं जाना तुम्हार गुणशीला, कहूँ सुनहु अब रघुपति लीला. I have recognized your deserving quality and your spiritual modesty. Now I'm going to relate to you the story of Rama, Rama Leela. O Muni, having met you, my mind is filled with joy. How much cannot be described. रामचरित अति अमित मुनीषा, कहीं न सकहीं सत कोटि अहीसा. तदपि जथा श्रुत कहूँ भकानी, सुमिरिस गिरापति प्रभु धनुष पानी. The story of Rama is beyond limits. It's boundless. Even hundreds of Sheshanagas, Sheshanag relates to cosmic mind. Even hundreds of cosmic minds cannot describe the story of Rama. Seems like a strange simile, but it's very simple. Even millions of illuminations of the sun, the best illuminations, cannot describe the sun. The sun is always beyond their reach. In the same way, all that you describe through your mind, intellect, and senses, pure consciousness passes through these instruments of yours, just like you would be a kind of a cell phone. And a cell phone cannot exactly catch, may show you smiling and laughing, but can't bring the life and reality of yours. Mind, intellect, senses, all can catch the glimpse of God in a symbolic manner, in an allegorical manner. And it can be, and it is perfectly normal. It is by doing that you attain enlightenment. But never imagine that God can be brought in the realm of words. And with this I'm going to conclude. Om Triambakam Yajam Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmo Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om Shri Ramaya Namah. Om Namah Shivaya.